Hello everyone, Angry here. Welcome to this very special video that I'm putting together. Now, many of you have seen the news reports where they say Hillary Rodham Clinton has a surmountable lead over Donald Trump. But if you turn it around and you look at it from social media sources, Donald Trump is leading Hillary Rodham Clinton and every other presidential candidate by astronomical numbers. But don't take it from me. Listen to this very special news report from Alex Jones on Infowars.com and let him tell you exactly what's really going on. And then decide for yourself if Hillary Rodham Clinton is truly in the lead or if Donald Trump is truly the leader.
Hillary Clinton is desperate. Donald Trump was 10 points ahead in the polls until Reuters and others began sampling 10 to 15% more Democrats in their polls to skew the numbers. It's incredible. But despite all that skewing in the last 2 weeks, now in major polls put up with the very same groups with the same methodology, Trump is neck and neck with her or even a point or two ahead. But if you go look at the social media, and Breitbart and Gateway Pundit have done this, it's incredible. We're talking 3, 4, 5, 6 times the support at places like Facebook, Livestream, Reddit, and so many other places. In fact, sometimes he's got 10 times more likes and 10 times more views. That's what we saw with Bernie Sanders, where he'd have 20,000 people, Hillary'd have 500. We did exit polls in California and other so-called battleground states in the Democratic primary. And we talked to 8 people before we found 1 or 2 Hillary supporters. That's why Hillary was forced to steal it with the superdelegates. Let's look at some of the numbers themselves. Trump had 10 million plus likes to Clinton's 5 million on Facebook. And that's with Facebook admittedly censoring Trump pages everywhere they can and even meeting with Hillary Clinton just like Google does. Trump averages 30,000 live viewers per stream and Clinton averages 500 live stream viewers per stream. On Reddit, Trump averages 197,000 plus subscribers, Hillary 24,000. Hillary for Prison has 55,000 subscribers. Gee, wonder who started that. And this is only a snapshot of the numbers we're seeing with Trump. You go to YouTube, his average video has millions of views. You go look at Hillary's official campaign site, most of her videos have 2,000 or 3,000 views. Her bigger ones, a few 100,000. This lady's a joke. She's not liked by her own party. But we're being told it's going to be a landslide for her because they're trying to get us ready for election fraud. Something so well documented in this country's past. But Obama says it's preposterous. He doesn't even know what that is. Well, President Obama, we do know what it is. And this time, we don't have somebody like Mitt Romney or John McCain who's going to stand down and not take action. We don't have somebody that's going to throw in the towel if there's fraud. We've got Donald Trump and an awake population that's aware of your scams. The social engineers have jumped the shark. They are stealing this election in front of everyone. By forcing them to engage in fraud, we are exposing them forever. So even if Donald Trump loses, even if that happens due to fraud or scandals, it doesn't matter because we've been in the arena. We've politically exposed the system, political correctness, globalism. The maxim has been introduced, Americanism, not globalism. This is a good time to be alive, ladies and gentlemen. And we owe Donald Trump so much for being willing to put his family, his life, his treasure on the line. He is the man in the arena. And I'm honored to be in that arena with him as well. If you haven't joined us in this historic fight, it's time to pick a side right now. Thousands of years ago, there was a basic form of chivalry. Our ancestors would hear the drums of war, giving the warriors of the tribe a chance to organize and prepare a defense. 60 years ago, when foreign air forces were approaching filled with bombs, they had drums of their own, air raid sirens. But in the 21st century, there are silent weapons for quiet war. Pathogens added to the food and water and to the lining of plastics that destroy our vitality, turn off our hormones, and accelerate our journey towards death. I personally counter this onslaught with Anthroplex. Anthroplex is designed with known organic concentrated herbs to create the basic foundation to normal metabolic activity inside the human body. Discover why Anthroplex is turning so many heads today. It's time for us to take our bodies back into our own hands, and it starts at InfoWarsLife.com with Anthroplex.
Welcome back, folks. I hope that you were able to really listen to that video and watch it for yourself, because what was said in that video clearly proves beyond a shadow of doubt that Hillary Rodham Clinton and her campaign is in trouble. But the mainstream media wants you to believe that she is in the lead and she is going to win the presidency of the United States. Is she going to win? Well, if we, the people, don't get behind Donald J. Trump, yes, she probably will. It's going to take each and every one of us to get out there in November and vote for Donald J. Trump to make America great again. So if you love America as much as I do, folks, it's time for us to get together and make America great again. Now, there's another video that I really want you to watch, and this is another video by Infowars.com that you really need to look at, because it's really addressing who truly is behind ISIS and truly is the enemy of the state. Watch this video and then decide for yourself if Hillary Rodham Clinton and Barack Hussein Obama aren't in cahoots.
Well, GOP nominee Donald Trump has doubled down on his charge that Obama is the founder of ISIS. Take a listen.
ISIS is honoring President Obama. He is the founder of ISIS. He's the founder of ISIS, okay? He's the founder. He founded ISIS. And I would say the co-founder would be crooked Hillary Clinton. Co-founder, crooked Hillary Clinton.
Joining me now is Kit Daniels with more on this story. Now, Kit, during last night's speech, he kind of said that the reason why he calls Obama the founder of ISIS is for his decision to pull the troops out of the Middle East. But that's really just the tip of the iceberg with this story.
Yeah, I remember Rudy Giuliani, the former New York mayor, he said the same thing, I think, in March about how Obama was the founder of ISIS, but he said pretty much the same thing about, oh, it's because of the troops. That's not quite the case. This article I put on Infowars.com today, Trump is right. Here's proof Hillary and Obama founded ISIS. Basically, this is a boil-down article based on articles I've written since 2013. Mm-hmm. I ended up like 13,000 words, I think. And I usually only write something like 300-400 words.
Yeah, and there's 5 videos embedded in the article.
I left some stuff out because it was getting way too long. But, you know, one thing I didn't put in this article that's really key is the fact that Russia, I believe, their Air Force, they took out 1/3 of ISIS over 5 months.
Right.
Now, if Russia can do that, just think what we could have already done with the U.S. ISIS shouldn't even exist.
The entire time.
Yeah.
Right, and well, that was the whole thing that came out last year, that that they knew that ISIS was going to rise up out of this power vacuum, but that would be okay because then that would help them take out Assad.
Yeah.
So, you know, that was one of these other things. But get into some of the details. I know there's just many different things that you kind of label.
Well, one key thing I mentioned in this article is based on what you just said was the fact that there was a power vacuum. I mean, in 2011, 2012, there were Syrian rebels that were not really religious. They're very secular, out there trying to push Assad out of power. But the thing was, the West and Saudi Arabia, they started funding ISIS and giving them weapons, equipment, and stuff. So they ended up being like 2 or 3 times more powerful than any other rebel groups that were secular in the area. So yeah, they basically, ISIS moved into this power vacuum that was left behind by the rebels that were actually somewhat meaningful, and they weren't controlled by the West. So you had that, and then just so many little things that it doesn't look that big when you analyze it by itself, but when you add it together, you see this tapestry of Obama's foreign policy. For example, in 2015, he authorized a shipment of gun to ISIS militants.
Right.
And he, of course, he said that they were, moderate Syrian rebels.
Moderate rebels.
But yeah, but by
who then defected to ISIS and said, they pay us more money and we're going to go to them.
Yeah, I mean, like,
thanks for the good training.
Before he started shipping guns to them, it was like 2013 when we started to see how ISIS was already taking over the rebel movement. So he was pretty at that point in 2015. He was already sending taxpayer-funded AK-47s and Stinger missiles and TOW missiles to ISIS. And also another thing I wanted to point out is, at least 29 Syrian rebel groups since then have pledged allegiance to ISIS. Either they're allied to ISIS, working with ISIS, coordinating their attacks with ISIS, or they just joined them all together.
And you also point out here that Clinton admitted in 2009 the U.S. government, staffed with many of her closest allies, was responsible for al-Qaeda, which morphed into ISIS. So this is where, Trump is saying Hillary Clinton being the co-founder of ISIS. Initially, he said she was the founder, hands down, but he kind of walked it back a little. And here, I mean, there is just, like you said, about 13,000 words here, many, many videos, and we've done so many more. You only kind of picked just the top
kind of the greatest hits,
Right.
Kind of like a record album. But yeah, I even put a video in here, I believe it's from 2009, where Hillary Clinton admitted that, the U.S. was responsible for al-Qaeda because we went into the Afghanistan in '79 when the USSR invaded the country and created a proxy war with the Mujahideen. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, but we went in there, and Brzezinski was kind of the strategist behind our involvement in Afghanistan at the time because he wanted it to be a way to bleed off the USSR because we get them in their own Vietnam War, an unwinnable war. And that's exactly what it ended up being. Like, they were in there until '89, 10 years. They never won anything. They controlled the cities of Afghanistan, but never the countryside. And of course, the countryside's where Osama bin Laden and al-Qaeda, that's basically where they came from. That's how they got connected with the CIA in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of people forget that he was a CIA agent there. What was his name?
Oh yeah, I have in the article.
Something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Tim
Osmond.
Yeah, Tim Osmond. So this is, I mean, it goes way back. People, and Hillary Clinton is there on the record, saying we created these guys. We made them.
Here's the very important thing everybody should look at on this article. Hillary Clinton, 2009, like I said, she admitted that, we created al-Qaeda. But then you had this 2012 Pentagon document saying that, yes, we, the West, including Clinton's State Department at the time, was backing al-Qaeda of Iraq. And that, of course, morphed into ISIS over time.
Right. And that's, that's something that Donald Trump continues to point out, is that by creating this power vacuum, we basically handed Iraq to Iran, and ISIS, took it over, that all we have to show for it is death. And we gave them all oil fields. What do you think about the CENTCOM whistleblower story that came out saying that Obama was actually distorting ISIS intelligence, and they're kind of outing their superiors for altering the intelligence to make it look as though things were going a lot better than they actually were on the ground?
Well, it's interesting. I watched a video of Lieutenant Colonel Michael Flynn today. I think it was with Fox News a couple of years ago. He pointed out that on the lower levels of intelligence, you got good guys and power that are really trying to make change. They're actually trying to fight ISIS. But then once you get above him, you have kind of the generals and whatnot. Their advancement is more political. So there's always this disconnect between the people on the ground that are really trying to do something good and the power structure. And the only way you're ever going to get into the power structure is by being a yes man. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me at all that Obama is getting good intelligence, but just ripping it off, kind of like how Hillary Clinton was ripping off the classified labels off her emails.
Yeah, so it'd be easier for her to send this classified information, of course, putting national security at risk. Kit Daniels, thank you. And let me get this, because I want to make sure everyone checks out this article. It's up at the top of InfoWars right now. Trump is right. Here's proof Hillary and Obama founded ISIS. You're going to see there's so many videos there. Be sure to share it with all your friends. Share it on Twitter and Facebook. Get this story out there. Give even some more validation to Trump's point about doubling down on Obama being the founder of ISIS.
Yeah, one final point I want to make is the fact that states for the past several centuries, all the way going back to the Middle Ages, they've always funded rebels in a rival kingdom or state, government, whatever, to take over their rivals. So what Obama's doing with ISIS is really no different than what tyrants used to do in the 13th, 14th centuries.
Right.
But the key thing now is the fact that he's supporting ISIS, who are going around and beheading Christians and chopping people's arms and legs and heads off.
Going into
Europe
machetes. Now and blowing up places it's not confined now to the regions that we're trying to destabilize. Now they're coming out into the world to destabilize us. And I don't think that they foresaw that. Yeah, so basically nowadays, it's like we're going back to the barbarism of the medieval times. And even before that, we're entering a new dark ages. Right, absolutely. And actually, Alex Jones had some pretty explosive things to say about Obama's ISIS hoax back in 2014.
This is one of the biggest stories of our age because it's hiding in plain view. It's even hiding in the front page of major newspapers, but the media won't point out how sensationally evil this is, that the West, the United States, Saudi Arabia, Israel, and so many other groups through NATO and others are arming IS, Islamic State, or ISIS as it was known. This is simply a branding change from Al-Qaeda, because the West was caught funding them in Syria the last 3 years, to IS. So we're going to show people the mainline documentation that it is our government at the front of the line with France and so many others, England's involved as well, Turkey's involved, literally turning loose a group that is murdering Christians from Africa to Iraq to Syria to Egypt. And now Obama has the nerve to claim he's bombing them. So we're going to break down exactly what's behind all of this. First off, here is a map of the ethnic breakdown and religious breakdown currently in Iraq. You notice the areas in green are Shia. This borders Iran. Iran is a Shia state to the east of Iraq. Then you have this area that's basically a desert, no man's land, influenced by Saudi Arabia and Kuwait to a great extent. Then you have the Sunni Arab group bordering Syria to the west. And then you have the Kurdish area in this area of northern Iraq. Now, the Pentagon, the globalists have been on record for a long time saying that the takedown of Saddam in 1991, the second takedown in 2003, was about destabilizing a stable country and bringing in destabilization forces and breaking the country in three parts. Why is IS now being bombed after 3+ years of being given weapons from Benghazi and other areas by the Pentagon, by NATO, by Qatar, by Saudi Arabia, and by all these other factors to literally kill more than 300,000 people, launch chemical attacks, you name it, against the Assad regime who did nothing to anybody in Syria? They were allowed to come in the last 6 months, invade Iraq, take major cities. The entire time this was happening, even months ago, the Pentagon would not bomb their convoys with their Predator drones. They would leave them be, claiming, oh, we don't know what to do. They were armed to begin with. You remember about a year ago, whenever Rand Paul and others said we're not al-Qaeda's air force in Syria, just neighboring, that was about our military saying no to openly arming al-Qaeda. So when the public got upset about that, they named it ISIS, or now IS, to confuse people. But it's the black flag of al-Qaeda. It's the same people.
Kit Daniels, thank you so much. Now, of course, talking about taking out your rivals, WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange is really making a lot of enemies out there, putting out a lot of these secrets. And now that we're seeing sort of the body count surrounding the Clintons piling up with many people involved there with the DNC, does Julian Assange fear for his life as well? Some bizarre tweets suggest that the WikiLeaks founder might be concerned about his safety.
WikiLeaks' Julian Assange dropped a bombshell when he suggested that murdered DNC staffer Seth Rich was one of the sources of the DNC email leak.
But was he one of your sources then? I mean,
we don't comment on who our sources are.
But why make the suggestion about a young guy being shot in the streets of Washington?
Because we have to understand how high the stakes are.
Rich was killed in mysterious circumstances in Washington, D.C., shot in the back. He wasn't robbed of his cell phone or wallet. WikiLeaks has offered $20,000 for information leading to the conviction of his killer. But could Assange himself be the next victim of the Clinton body count? The day after Assange implied that Rich's murder was connected to Hillary Clinton, WikiLeaks posted a couple of very strange tweets. One was a video of former Hillary Clinton strategist Bob Beckel expressing his desire to see Assange assassinated.
I mean, a dead man can't leak stuff. This guy's a traitor, a treasonist, and he has broken every law of the United States. The guy ought to be, and I'm not for the death penalty, so if I'm not for the death penalty, I only want to do it, illegally shoot the son of a...
Another was a screenshot of a 2013 tweet by pro-Obama author and Politico journalist Michael Grunwald. I can't wait to write a defense of the drone strike that takes out Julian Assange. Do these tweets prove that Assange is telegraphing a warning about his own potential assassination by the Clinton crime family? What other explanation could there be? Why is he invoking the threat of his own murder the day after implying that murdered DNC staffer Seth Rich was the source of the DNC leak? Is Assange alluding to the threat of himself being targeted by the Clintons without outright saying it, so as to avoid being labelled paranoid by the media? The notion of Assange being assassinated is starting to crop up more and more. Actor and conservative commentator James Woods even asked for the odds on whether or not the WikiLeaks founder would survive until the election. Remember, Assange has vowed to release more damaging intel on Hillary's links to ISIS, corruption within the Clinton Foundation, and vote rigging.
We have upcoming leaks in relation to Hillary Clinton. You know, the emails we published show that Hillary Clinton is receiving constant updates about my personal situation.
Yes, WikiLeaks would still continue releasing the info without Assange. But he's the face of it. He does all the interviews. Assange is WikiLeaks. He's what propels the leaks into the news headlines. Is this all just paranoia? Or should Assange have somebody testing his food before he eats it while he's holed up in the Ecuadorian embassy? Because Seth Rich isn't the only Clinton-connected individual to recently die in mysterious circumstances. John Ashe was reportedly part of a scheme to funnel foreign money to the Democratic National Committee during the Clinton years. Just before he was set to testify against Clinton, Ashe was found dead, apparently having crushed his own windpipe while lifting weights in his home. Sean Lucas was found dead on his bathroom floor despite being in good health. Lucas was the lead attorney in a fraud case against the DNC filed by Bernie Sanders supporters. Meanwhile, prolific anti-Hillary author Victor Thorne supposedly committed suicide from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Is this all just absolute nonsense? Thankfully, the answer is yes. The Clinton body count is just a conspiracy theory, so I'm sure Julian Assange will be perfectly safe.
This is the answer for your children to totally absorb the multivitamins, the minerals, the amino acids, everything at once. Unveil Vitamin Mineral Fusion Advanced Multivitamin Formula, 30 servings, fruit punch flavored dietary supplement. It is simply amazing. InfoWarsLife.com.
There's a million different products like this out there that they're good in different ways. But this takes all of the vitamins, all of the essential amino acids, all of the essential compounds and minerals that you need, puts it into something that's great tasting as opposed to like clumpy, gross stuff. And you can put it in your drink every morning. I put it in my protein shake. It is the platinum standard, in my view, of multivitamins in terms of an advanced multi-drink vitamin.
The cleanest, the purest, new stuff had to be invented. That's why it took this long to even bring us something this good.
Some companies are going to take a small amount of vitamins and make it, so there's so much filler, it looks like there's a lot. This is ultra concentrated. We're not playing games here. Okay,
well, that's my philosophy. That's your philosophy.
Yeah,
I want it, but again, there's some great stuff out there.
Yeah,
and there's other,
No, of course, definitely.
There's other powders I promote at InfoWarsHealth.com. They're excellent. I mean, there's some good stuff out there. This is just the very best we can bring you, and when you buy it, you support InfoWars, you support the reporters, you support yourself. Tell folks about some of these other things that are in this and why this is just this total complete package for your body, because Again, we didn't put the synthetic amino acids. We didn't put the synthetic vitamins. We put the plant-based, high-quality, clean, natural ingredients into this.
Yeah, exactly. So you've got your standard vitamins, vitamin C, vitamin E, the list goes on.
A huge amount of vitamin C, by the way. Tell folks about that.
1,000+% of your daily value, which is what you need. Because the, FDA guidelines, we all know about those. Zinc, magnesium, selenium, L-glutamine. Each one of these you could go on for about 10 minutes about the benefits of these things. Alpha-lipoic acid, folic acid, calcium, and the list goes on. 34 other ones you can check out. Go to InfoWarsLife.com. The label's up there. You've got the entire ingredients list that you can neurotically examine for yourself. And just...
By the way, look on the other side, too, because we're showing people the minerals and things. Let's look at the vitamins right there, all it's got in there. I mean, it's amazing.
Top left.
Again, if you're radio listeners, Infowars.com/show. Vitamin A has 4,333% from beta-carotene and what's that other source? I just know that's all the best sources.
Retinol. So you've also got your vitamin D at 1,000 IU, which is a large dose, actually. And you know what? Some people could say, well, isn't this competing with your other products? Well, yeah, you know what? We could be like some people and just take all the stuff that we sell also at InfoWarsLife.com and not put any of it, but then it wouldn't be a balanced formula, and we're not going to do that. And it might actually hurt us in the long run to put all the best stuff in here, but that's just the way we got to do it, because we can't start thinking like that.
So get them today, InfoWarsLife.com, or call toll-free 888-253-3139.
Welcome back again, folks. Well, I think I've proven beyond a shadow of doubt that what's going on with President Barack Hussein Obama and Hillary Rodham Clinton is nothing more than treason. Point blank, cut and dry, can't get any more clearer than that. But there's another video that I want you to watch by a very dear friend of mine, James Stempniak, and I hope I pronounced that name right. If not, I do apologize, James. But he is a true American patriot and very close friend of mine, and I feel he has some valid points that you need to hear. And this is a interview he did with RT News recently. So take a listen, and then I'll be back momentarily to conclude this report.
Now, earlier I spoke with Jim Stachowiak. He is a militiaman himself and host of Freedom Fighter Radio. He told me how the government is making him pay for his God-given right. That's what he has an issue with.
My county, Columbia County, Georgia, requires you to have in order for me to carry a concealed weapon, in my case, it's my choice 45, I have to pay $75 to $95 for a concealed weapons permit. That means I'm having to pay for a God-given right.
Jim, your website says that it's becoming clearer and clearer that if this country doesn't wake up soon, life in America as we know it will cease to exist. It sounds like this is about more than just guns. It's about a bigger perception of threat to a way of life. What are you concerned about?
Well, I'm concerned about the redistribution of wealth. I'm concerned about how America's becoming a socialized nation.
Let me ask you about that. What redistribution of wealth? Because if this is a socialized nation, all of the data coming out shows that the income distribution is the greatest divide it's been in 80 years. The wealth of the top 1% and the divide between that income and everybody else is the greatest it's been in 80 years. If there's a redistribution of wealth going on, it doesn't really seem to be working.
They're attempting to, like, okay, for instance, if you look at the Reagan administration, when the rich had more tax breaks, and I'm far from being wealthy, there were more jobs out there. Taxing the rich and penalizing you for being successful is not the solution. In fact, if you taxed everybody $100,000 or more at 100% rate, you would only be able to run this government for 4 to 5 months. Okay?
So what is the solution?
Well, the solution is that I believe is budget cuts. We got to put America first. I know, I'm sorry to see what happened in Japan, but foreign aid has to come secondary to the needs of America.
Well, it does. I mean, the biggest problems are, some of the biggest chunks of the budget are entitlements and defense spending. Would you cut defense spending then?
Well, defense spending, I believe, can actually be cut and still keep the same amount of weapons. Because I've worked in the defense industry for Harris Corporation with government contracts on the stealth bomber programs and Star Wars weapons in the 80s. And I can tell you the waste that they put in there. I mean, You could look like, you've heard the $2,000 toilet seats. This is not far-fetched. I personally witnessed it. They can be more efficient with their spending and make they can actually reduce defense spending and still increase the amount of weapons.
Okay, so Jim, let me ask you one more question just to get back to the idea of moving towards socialism. So is your real concern that they're going to raise taxes on the wealthy and that's the move towards socialism? That they're going to end Bush tax cuts for the wealthiest Americans?
It's not just, it's that plus the ability to criticize your government.
How is that being limited?
Okay, well, for instance, government agencies coming after you using local agencies suppressing our First Amendment rights to speak out. That is happening on a continual basis.
Is that on a local level, or do you think on a broader level? Because we see even this weekend, this Friday, a rally that's highly contentious in Dearborn, Michigan, where someone who has burned a Quran is going to have a protest against what he perceives as the threat of Sharia and jihad. And chances are he's going to be able to do it regardless of how people feel because of free speech, because free speech in this country is so protected.
But what's not being reported, what you didn't address, you may not be aware of, you're referring to Pastor Terry Jones of Gainesville, Florida, Dove Christian Outreach Center, and I was on the phone with the office the other day. They are trying to make him pay for the additional security. That's what's not being reported, making him responsible for the additional security, meaning, Terry, you got to pay for the right to speak out. You have to pay because it's costing us all these cops. No, you know, the burning of the Quran is not a violent act. It's a book. I believe in the Bible. I'm not going to attack someone for burning the Bible. The violence is those that would attack someone for merely burning an inanimate object. Those are the dangerous people. But Terry Jones is being pressured by Michigan, dragged into court, being forced to pay a bond.
Well, he's not being forced. I don't think that's happened. I know that there's that issue.
They're trying to put that pressure on him. Okay, and the State Department, the Pentagon and the State Department labeling him a threat, endangering American troops overseas because he burned the Quran. You know, there's nothing we can do that will make us hate it anymore unless we submit to Sharia law. And Sharia law is a threat to America, and we have already seen what's happening in Europe. England should be the canary in the coal mine on the threat of Sharia law.
Well, that's a highly debated issue, and I don't think that I think there'd be a lot of people that would disagree with you there. But it sounds like a lot of this boils down to money. That you feel like you shouldn't have to pay money to register your guns. You shouldn't have to pay money to protest. That the rights that are in the Constitution are being limited because you have to pay fees to fulfill them.
We're translating rights into privileges. That's the bottom line. Rights are becoming privileges. Like we're the government. We're going to give you the opportunity to carry a gun. No, I like in some states, open carry should be, if you're not a felon, you haven't committed a violent felony, every American citizen should be allowed to carry a firearm, okay? There's some places that do that. Firearms are their liberty teeth of the people. Again, I've always said it again and again, the safest community in the world is in my state.
That was Jim Stachowiak, host of Freedom Fighter Radio.
Well, folks, with everything that you've heard and seen on today's video, I hope that a lot that was shared with you has awakened a lot more of you. Because Hillary Rodham Clinton, President Barack Hussein Obama, and our government aren't being honest with us as a nation and people. They haven't been for the last 8+ years, maybe a little bit beyond that. And it's time, folks, that we send a clear and undisputable message to Washington. Maybe it's too late to impeach Barack Hussein Obama and get him out of office before he leaves office. But we can stop Hillary Rodham Clinton from becoming president of the United States. How can we do that? Elect Donald J. Trump in November. We need to get out there in large numbers. We need to put our vote in for Donald J. Trump and send a clear and undisputable message that we, the people, are fed up. We, the people, want to put a true American in office. An American who will stand up for us as a nation and people. If you love America, and I know most of you do, even those on the liberal side love America, they're just confused. You're misguided. We need to open their eyes so they can see the truth of their transgressions and their being led down the wrong path. God bless you guys. God bless our troops overseas in harm's way. May God bless my fellow veteran, patriot, and Christian brothers and sisters. And may God bless America. Thank you. Angry Patriot, out.